What would be the most immediate economic impacts of the GOP getting both the House and the Senate, or either or? Let's bring in Libby Cantrill of PIMCO, where she analyzes policy and political risk for the firm. Libby, maybe let's start with China. That seems to be one area where there's some agreement. The Biden administration remained pretty tough on China, especially with these chip industry restrictions we've seen lately. How, if at all, does that agenda shift if, the political landscape shifts after tomorrow?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And good evening. It's actually one of the few issues where there is really broad bipartisan support. As you mentioned, not only has the Biden administration not lifted any of the Trump-era tariffs, but they've also issued some pretty draconian export controls on advanced leading semiconductor chips, both in terms of the chips and then also the manufacturing equipment and also the personnel, making U.S. citizens who are working at some of these Chinese-based semiconductor companies decide between their citizenship and their jobs. So you're absolutely right. This, again, is one of those bipartisan issues. Interestingly, though, Republicans in the House in particular have indicated that they don't think the Biden administration has gone far enough on China and that they would advocate and potentially put together a select committee on China to provide some oversight. So in some ways, what we're telling clients at PIMCO is that Democrats and Republicans are in some ways trying to out-hawk each other on China, and that dynamic won't change. If anything, it will get more hawkish if Republicans take back at least control of one chamber.
Okay, now what about labor? There's, during the shortage, the surge in the economy, it seemed like there was a lot of pro-union movement in the workforce, certainly among names like Amazon and Apple and Starbucks. But now as the economy is slowing down, perhaps some wind coming out of those sails. If the Republicans have more leverage in Congress, how much can they do to kind of push their philosophy onto labor and the economy?
Yeah, this is where you really do have to sort of divide and sort of parse out the rhetoric versus the reality. The reality, of course, is that President Biden will still be in the White House, will still have the use of his veto pen, as Kayla was indicating. So Republicans, will absolutely pass messaging bills if they control both the House and the Senate, or even just the House. They also, of course, have the ability to bring folks up on Capitol Hill. They'll have subpoena power. So they'll be able to use that oversight lever. But it will be more rhetorical than it will actually be substantive. So on labor, at least at the federal level, we don't really expect many changes, if any, honestly, except for maybe more demagoguing, which is one of the tools of the opposition party out of power in the White House.
Now, what about corporate policy? When the Supreme Court took its action on Roe, a number of companies said, hey, our policy is we're going to send people out of state if they have something that they want to do with their reproductive decisions and abortions. And a lot of Republicans pushed back against that. Should we expect either substance or rhetoric out of either party to amp up in a way that affects what companies feel they can do and therefore the services and benefits that employees have available to them?
Yeah, again, I think in some ways we will see Republicans laying the groundwork for the 2024 presidential campaign because, of course, folks and attention will pivot very quickly to that. There will be, and we've already seen, again, the preview of this on the campaign trail, that there will be sort of this anti-woke agenda, if you will. So not only on company stance on abortion rights, but just more broadly on their sort of approach towards a lot of these other ESG issues. And we do think that ESG will be a focus of the Republicans, particularly in the House. House Financial Services have already indicated that this will be one area that they're really going to probe, not only the Biden administration, but also, as you mentioned, some sort of companies in corporate America across many industries.
Potential shift in the economic narrative. Libby Cantrill from PIMCO, thank you.